everybody? We are here for the Start, Build, Grow Show podcast, episode 203, and we've got a very special one for you guys. We are talking to the man of SEO for the roofing industry. Let's hop right into it. What up, everybody? Thanks for joining us today. Man, what a special guest we got, Mr. Tim Brown. I'm gonna let Randy introduce him more formally. But how we doing, Randy?
Hey, man, I'm excited. We got the gang back together, man. You've been all over the world. Connor's out there just.
You got my hotel room in the background, bro. So there you go, South Dakota, everybody.
So Connor's out there making it happen, doing on-sites, literally changing the lives of contractors, working hard, grinding it out, making things happen. Tim, same thing, all over, grinding out all over the world, doing your little tour. It's been awesome to hang out with you on there, man. So I'm glad we're able to kind of get both of you together to hang out and pour into the industry that we love and share some great value. But you guys all know Tim with Hook Agency. He's quickly becoming the roofing meme king. Is that right? Did I get it right? The roofing meme king. If anything, just follow him just to check out the roofing memes and get a little entertainment every day. And that's worth it. It's worth his weight. What's up, Tim?
Facebook.com/invigorated. Facebook.com/invigorated is my handle. I feel like I'm earning that every single weekend because like I feel like the pressure, you know what I mean? I feel the pressure, but I've been doing this now for like 5-6 months and I've maintained some level of interaction. So whenever I get those like 100 like memes, I'm like, still got it. Oh yeah.
So what kind of effort does that take to be that consistent with your social media, dude?
Well, I'll be real with you. I realize I'm annoying sometimes. I don't know, people follow me and they're like, well, it's not only just that people follow me. It's like I post 5 times a day sometimes. And then like, it's usually about business. So I got to work on more personal stuff in my posts personally, but it's not very hard because I'm addicted to dopamine and, you know, you get likes and then you have dopamine. So I'm pretty addicted. It's probably not the greatest thing in the world. As far as like what it takes to make memes, what I do is I literally I'll be watching TV or something and I just like go on Reddit or whatever. And I save a bunch of images and then I'll just like make 10 in a row and they're almost all bad. And then I'll just post like the top 2. So that's how I do it.
That makes sense. Effort, though. I don't know,
yes,
man. I struggle with that. It's like,
dude, it all takes effort. So I've been thinking about the same thing with Reels and TikToks, right? Because, you know, we've been on tour with TJ McCormick, the world's greatest roofer. And like, obviously, like he spends a lot of time on those Reels and those TikToks. And I'm like, I do need to master it. Like any marketer that's like on the come up at this point, like, we kind of do have to get better at that, but it's like, it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
It is like, I'm trying myself to just dabble a little bit in the real world, I'm in the real world now, making reels, trying to make some reels. And it's awful, but it's actually kind of fun, you know, but it's
the funny thing is one of the ones that I had Randy on blew up. So I talked about why you should read books and it was actually on, YouTube shorts.
Okay.
And people like that got a lot of views. Sweet. And
are we going viral, bro? Like we're viral, aren't we?
Not viral. I feel like that's used a little loosely.
What's that commercial? They're like, I got hundreds of views. It's great. Like, I got tens of views or something.
Tens and tens, yes. I think that might be an Allstate
like a progressive commercial or something. I got tens and tens of views.
Yes. Okay, so you know, I want to talk a little bit about chemistry with marketing people, whether it's you're hiring an agency or you're hiring a marketing employee, because I think that's a hot topic too. Like some people I was just on Dave Sullivan's podcast and he's like, don't hire like he's always on the side of like, don't hire, outsource and that kind of thing. And I literally was on the other side and I don't know how I got on the other side of this argument, but I was arguing like, you should think about having a marketing manager at a certain point. I think that point is like 7 to 10 million. That makes a lot of sense to me. I think you guys have schooled me a little bit on this tour about like what is a real revenue like size that should afford hook agency. And like I'm challenged because people want to purchase from us, even with I know that we're expensive at like $750,000, and I don't know if I should let them. So I want to hear you guys' take on that. It feels weird to turn away business, and it feels like a little judgy to be like, because you're not at 2 million, you can't buy from Hook Agency, you know?
Know your numbers, Tim. Know your numbers. That's what
I mean, but some of these guys are doing some, decent profit at a smaller amount. Maybe not really 750 yet, but I don't know.
I just don't necessarily fair to put like a dollar figure on that per se, but I would say, if regardless of how big you are as a contractor, when you have the right budget to actually commit and do it right, that's when it's time to do it right. I mean, you can outsource and overseas, and you can get a website, and you can be public, and you can have, some, engagement, and get some your name out there.
You gotta be scrappy.
Really cheap, right? Just so you have something. But when you have the budget and you know that you're making an investment that's going to be for the longevity of your business, that's when it makes sense to do that. Because learning from me early on, we were like bootstrapping on a budget, and we our very first 2 or 3 different times we had somebody come in and do our website and do stuff, and we try to get it done as cheaply as we can, and I didn't have ownership of it, and I lost the whole URL, and I had to wait a couple of years, and I ended up buying it back again and doing a lot of changes, and then we landed on our marketing team, who's now like we've now kind of promoted them to full CMO. I mean, so my business partner, as you know, Cody, his wife Devin, she's been on the show. She's our CMO now. Like, they're doing everything marketing, but you got to be to a certain size before you're ready to make that investment. But regardless, and I know you've known her and you've worked with her as well, but having that commitment and knowing that, you're investing into your business for the long haul.
So where
that's when it makes sense to find someone you can really vibe with and connect with, and really share similarities. I think that's probably kind of what you were going to touch
I can today, talk about what I would look for in a market, because I've hired, whatever, a lot of employees, right? 30, 40 people now. Some of them are gone, some of them are here. But where do you guys think, if Connor's the know your numbers guy, and I know he has some thoughts on this, if you were to hire a marketing manager, let's say you floated at the beginning, you're scrappy till 2 or 3 million, then you hire like an agency, or maybe you'd say hire that sooner. I don't know, but I say like 7 to 10 is a good spot for a marketing manager, but would you say any sooner than that? Would you say later? I'm just curious what your take is. I don't care if it contradicts me. I'm just curious.
Yeah, let me go backwards first. So like one thing that I wanted to say when you were saying all this is like, there is a rule of thumb in our industry, right? Like if you're a store market, like the idea of it being somewhere between 2.5% to 5% of your total revenue being going toward marketing. If you're in a retail market, as high as 10, some guys go a little bit higher. But at the end of the day, it does all boil down to your numbers, right? I mean, you can sit there and dice it up and say, hey, I'm going to do 5% of my marketing back out the door. But at the end of the day, if your GPM is 20% and then you got overhead and then you got, it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? So I would say, like, first and foremost, like, start there. Like, from a marketing perspective, you need to look at your budgets and say, like what Randy was saying earlier, like have an allocated set of money that goes back into marketing to continue to put toward the fire of what needs to be, what needs to be the first thing in your business, which is a lead. So you can convert it to a close and fulfill it, et cetera. And so, but the idea of that would be, for me, is I just wanted to hit on that first before I answer your question. Like, because again, the answer to your question, it isn't really there's no truth to that question. It's going to be completely dependent upon your numbers and where you are. But I'd say first start there. Like if you're a contractor listening to this and you don't know, hey, how much should I be spending? How much should be going out the door? Like, it depends on what are your gross profit margins? Like, how does your business break down from the standpoint of what does your overhead look like? How much money is going back out the door for marketing? And yes, 2.5% to 5% storm, up to 10 is usually the top end on a retail market. But again, some go higher. It just depends on your GPMs.
Do you count door knocking and canvassing as part of the marketing budget or no?
If it's costing you money, then yes. If it's costing you money to generate that from paying, I guess from a canvasser perspective.
Okay, because a lot of people aren't paying the actual.
Yeah.
They're incentivizing them in a different way, but they're not paying them like a salary.
So
Yeah.
I would
and
say if you
at
have
the
a
end of the day-
canvassing team and you're
Yeah.
paying people just to
Correct.
do canvassing, that's a marketing expense. That's how I
Correct.
look at it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you're still going to have, like, as someone that's going out there and like doing the door knock, like if you're looking at, what you're spending on your print material as you're leaving that stuff behind, like all that stuff, is account to marketing, in my opinion. Now, another thing that's a big criteria that people don't look at in our business is CAC. So nobody looks at the customer acquisition costs. And if you're sitting there and you're saying like, hey, I've got all these leads coming in, but your customer acquisition cost let's just take a typical typical residential company in our industry, and they're averaging like $1,500, $2,000 CAC, it's probably not going to be making sense because you're eating up too much gross profit with your marketing efforts. And so those are some of the things.
Like, did you say what that stands for, CAC?
Yeah, CAC, customer acquisition costs. So let's say that you have, so like way I break this down just to make it very simple is if you have 5 leads and each of those leads cost you $10 or $100, excuse me. Okay, so that's $500 that you spent in leads, right? And you have a 20% close rate. What does that mean? That means you had to get 5 leads before you could close 1. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? So at that point, it'd be $500 as your customer acquisition cost. Like from a very just keeping it simple, stupid type of concept, that's it. So our company, like when we're looking at CAC, if it exceeds $500, it does not make sense in our business model typically. Okay. So if I don't know that number and I don't know the specific amount of marketing budget allotted first, I need to know that first. Now let me get to your question, which is not that I was just trying.
These are all good components, though. I appreciate it.
Correct. So to answer your question, I think as low as probably, in my opinion, as low as probably 3 to 4 million probably makes the most sense to have someone inside. But then you've got folks, and I'm not saying anything negative, but like Joseph Hughes and folks like that are like, hey, learn how to do your own Facebook ads, learn the DIY piece, and like. I think if you can implement that and you have someone in house that's really, really good at that, at a $1 million, $2 million clip, then it might make sense. It just really does depend on your numbers. But I would agree to you that like from a hook agency standpoint, knowing your avatar, I'm not telling you already know your avatar, I'm sure, but like from the standpoint of like what is the most ideal client for you, if you're looking at that $7 to $10 million company. At 7 million, if we're running even a marginally healthy company at 25% GPM, that's 1.7 in GPM, right? So at that point, you're talking probably a good amount of money that you could put towards your marketing or have someone on salary, stuff like that.
I think I've kind of thought about that being the marketing manager level because a lot of the people that we're working with are owners that are already good at marketing. Yeah. So like a lot of the customers that I've had that we've had a really good time with kind of like this stuff and are already into it and are pushing, let's say doing videos on social media and stuff like that. So I think that's why I think of that. But if that's not your skill set, it's a totally different equation probably. Like you know what I mean? If you're not really into marketing already, it's probably earlier and then maybe you layer on an agency later. I mean, I could see that for sure.
I think regardless, I've learned this too. Like, I think regardless, as the owner of the company or the founder, like you might not be naturally good at marketing, but if you really have ambition to grow and scale your business, the owner has to be involved a little bit at some extent. You're the face of the organization, whether you like it or not. So you either need to learn how to get comfortable and making some videos or hire somebody to do that or contribute one way or another, because you're trying to hire an agency to tell your story. Yeah. And then I think that's a mistake a lot of roofing contractors make. Okay. We want to grow our business. We go out there and we interview 20 different marketing companies. We find one that we like or whatever, or the cheapest one or whatever. And we're like, hey, I'm going to hire you to do my marketing. And then we back off. And then we think it's the easy button. I'm just going to hire a marketing company, let them go do my thing. But a marketing company is not going to be able to tell your story the way you tell your story. Yeah. So as a business owner, I believe that you really got to be involved at one way or another, and it's your story to tell. You just need a good agency that can help do that story.
Amplify it. Like I say, like I always say we're not actually going to make anyone successful. Like all we're going to do is accelerate the people that are already going to be successful. That's how I feel. Like we're only speeding it up. Like, and it's kind of like people, like a branding guy once told me, like, it's like you got to get the voice right before you get the megaphone on the voice, because otherwise they'll just be garbled anyways. And so like, I think some people are looking to, and there are brand strategy agencies. We are not, we're a lead generation focused agency, but like, that's why I always talk about Kick Charge and Dan Antonelli out here, because like some people need that brand conversation a lot. What up, Dima? Yeah, a lot of people need to get that brand thing right, because you're only amplifying what's there sometimes with lead generation. So some people just really need to kind of focus on that. If you are hiring a marketing agency or a marketing manager, I wanted to share a little bit. Eric, what's up, dude? You got a great audience here tonight. Nobody has the passion that the owner has. Hands down, Randy Brothers, they need to be the face. I mean, just no one cares about your marketing as much as you. Like I keep on preaching that on our tour. Like you are going to need to care, and so if you are hiring a marketing manager, I just went through this with a roofing company. I helped them hire. I sourced candidates. I interviewed in person with these marketing. I did, filter and then in-person interviews, and those candidates really revealed to me a lot. It's a little bit different game than hiring for a marketing agency, but there's a lot of the same skills that come into place, because it's probably not all the same skills that are like, let's say if you're hiring, roofing salespeople and that type of thing. There's a little bit of like softness and creativity that, isn't always the case with the same types of people that want sales roles. Right. And so like the things that I was really looking for, I was like, and I was maybe hoping for, I think I'm always looking for somebody with a couple years out of college. That's my ideal scenario, because I'm like, I just don't want to be the one to have to train them on basic things on how to do work. And like that. Yeah. Life is not like college, you know what I mean? But I'm saying that, but then the person I ended up placing wasn't right out of college. So I'm not going to talk to that, but the things I was really looking for were hunger. I need somebody that's hungry and that wants to learn a lot and is self-motivated. They know how to Google stuff. They know how to take courses. If they need to, they could be on Contractor Dynamics. And we should shout out Dima, because he's on here with Roofing SEO School. If they need to take these things, then they're willing to do stuff like that they're willing to learn, because some people don't have that hunger.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing I was looking for. The other thing I was looking for, honestly, I was kind of looking just in case, like that they would be willing to get on camera. You know what I mean? Like to me, part of it is like a big piece of content out here is now camera, and like your ability to go and also motivate people to be on camera. So I kind of talked her through that in the process of hiring her, of like, would you be willing to help draw out content out of people on the team? Because the more you can be part of that, get the people part of that, the better time you're going to have and the more interesting the videos are going to be.
Yeah.
So like I did want her to want to be better at video, to be willing to edit video. And I wanted her to be able to write some content in social and video were the two biggest things I was looking for. But of course, like if you find somebody that's really deep in one way, let's say if you find somebody that's like already trained in SEO or already trained in Google ads or something, or just another, like an important thing for your lead gen strategy, you can grab that person and kind of focus them. And then I think it's good to not try to make them an expert in everything. I think it's good to get them like maybe pretty good at 2 or 3 things. Like I'm on LinkedIn too much, or I was back in the day. I thought that would be like, I don't know. I've been on there a lot, and I see employee culture, like in like the tech world and a lot of soft people on LinkedIn. There's a lot of soft people, and they always like ridicule employers for like trying to find that like unicorn employee that's like good at everything. And that, I think it's a valid like critique on employers that want like somebody that's good at 7 things. Like they're good at Google ads and Facebook ads and video editing. And like realistically, I don't know. I think you guys are kind of proponents of be specialists at a few important things. And, like not trying to be out here doing fencing and decks and roofing and siding and every single service, because when you're a specialist. And then we try to and then not putting that on our employees to do it. So I think just trying to find somebody that has the aptitude and the hunger around 2 or 3 activities. And then the other thing, and I think video and social are really good ones, and Facebook ads is a really good one. And then the other one I think is just like look at the work, or have somebody that kind of knows how to assess work quality, look at the work. Because this person, maybe she doesn't need to be the deepest graphic designer in my experience, but she does need to have taste, because she might be doing some graphic design. Like you can do a lot on Canva these days.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Great tool. Like all of us can kind of be, I mean, I have background in design, but a lot of people can be kind of designers now in this day and age. But if they don't have taste, now that's a different thing. So you kind of got to like assess, like maybe they did some work in college or their last few years in their marketing positions that they've had. And like you and your wife or somebody else on your team, who else has taste, or somebody else that in marketing, and kind of get that work in front of them and say, is this actually good? Or is it like have potential? Or is this bad? Because if it's not, graphic design is part of all of this. Like it's part of videos, it's part of social media. So I don't know. I guess I'm saying like graphic design, video, and social are like the things I would be looking for.
Yep.
And then just a lot of hunger and aptitude, because you can kind of get them to take courses and get better and better. Thank you, Dima. Appreciate that. Dima's out here teaching people how to do SEO. So I'm trying to figure out exactly how I feel about him. But I'm actually, you know what? Part of it is I was trying to train people on SEO back in the day.
Yep.
And my clients kind of didn't want to learn or whatever, but I also respect the heck out of it. And I know he has a lot of awesome students. So good on you, Dima, for doing that hard work to train people, because it does seem a little hard sometimes. I've had to let go of SEOs that, at my company that didn't seem vigilant. I don't know, hiring marketing people is hard in my experience, hiring marketing people. So I think both Contractor Dynamics is awesome and Roofing SEO School. And then the other thing is like, the other big thing that has yet to be solved in our space is like that hiring. Like, and I don't know if I'm going to be the one to fix it, but somebody needs to figure out how to like help contractors hire good marketers and filter, because that's hard. It's hard. And these are just some things to look for, but it's going to be hard. And then the other piece is retaining them. How can we retain decent people once we train them, if it is a good amount of work that we've invested in them?
So I think that's probably a good topic. I think you have a few more, things, maybe bullet points on like what to look for when hiring, whether you're hiring in-house or outsourcing, like what to look for when hiring an agency. So we'll carry that up. We'll carry that conversation on in just a minute. First off, we do want to give a little bit of a shout out to our amazing sponsors.
If you aren't using Job Nimbus, you should be.
The effects that it's going to have on my personal life, I can see is automation is going to change the way I live.
We've been able to eliminate all the paper, all of our paper files, and actually everything is online for us now.
At Engage, we believe it's just plain wrong that it's so hard to create, share, and measure presentations that sell. Now, you don't have to be a graphic designer to create professional, polished presentations. Wow customers with interactive features like buttons and inline videos. Use our sample pages to transform the photos and content you already have on hand. Engage is a cloud-based platform, so your team will always have the latest version of a presentation both on and offline. And with Teams, you have total control over who can access and edit. Empower your sales managers to make informed decisions with rich, built-in analytics to see how long reps spend in each part of a presentation. Then use that information to make every rep your best rep. Close more deals with powerful presentations. Learn more at engage.io.
Special thank you to our sponsors there, our presenting sponsor, jobnimbus.com, as well as engage.io. They're an incredible sales enablement tool useful for your sales teams when it comes to sales presentation. So give them a good look at engage.io. And lastly, we've got a sponsor in-house on the show here for Mr. Tim. So Hook Agency, they know a little bit of something about SEO and PPC.
Rate this commercial. Rate the commercial in the comments.
Get the commercial on. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'll do it. Let's do it.
Are you sick of what passes for leads these days? What's wrong with share leads? Or Facebook ad leads? Yeah! Not much, unless you want to be the lowest bidder on every job. I wear a lot of hats, but search engine marketing and website, I've passed off to a Google specialized team.
Man, something about that video that bless you, Randy. that video marketing you got there, Tim. I mean, that was some solid stuff.
Hey, thank you so much. I got a new commercial for you in 3 weeks, by the way, because I know that one's getting, content fatigue. You know what I mean? I get for at least you guys.
It's staying pretty fresh here. We still get a good laugh out of it.
Well, good.
We like the fire machine one too. Whatever you had going on there.
My next one will blow your socks off.
Oh, good.
Like literally. Okay. All right. That's enough on that. We'll stay tuned. We're on the edge of our seat waiting for the next Hook Agency commercial. Yeah. But again, man, it's always fun. We always have a good time on the show chatting, but we do appreciate you. And guys, with marketing, we're going to dive into that a little because that relationship, and we talk so much about just relationships in general. I mean, literally you can take all pieces of building any business and filter in the importance of relationships in all aspects. We talk sales, we talk marketing, we talk production, we talk hiring employees, we talk out external relationships. If you're a GC or you do it, relationships are so vitally important, if not the most important thing in business. And so is marketing. You've got to be able to market your company. You've got to be able to generate leads. You got to be able to brand, and you got to make things happen. So how do we do that? How do I find, what are some questions I can ask? What are some things I can do to kind of connect it and at least put myself in a good position to build a great relationship, to know that that's going to be a good relationship, and elaborate a little bit more on that process. And what are some things that we can learn? I'm a roofing contractor, and I want to step my marketing game up. This isn't a sales pitch. This is how do we get better? And how can I step my game up and put myself in the best position to work with a great agency?
Yeah. Well, I think getting really into marketing a little bit. Eric, thanks, bro. I think being into it a bit so you're not delegating blindly is one thing. I think you should start to learn to love marketing a little bit, just for your own self, just to understand some basic components. And if you're going to hire something, let's say you're going to hire SEO, just look up some basics. Like we have a blog on this, hookagency.com/blog/SEO-basics to understand it. And it's basically 3 things I would do for your SEO, if nothing else, on that blog. It's understanding these things before delegating them, ideally, in my experience. Other things important to do, check out the reviews. It feels like a really basic one. Check out these agencies' reviews. You'll see some stuff. Hey, I got a 1-star somewhere. I don't know what it's from. I don't think it's from a client, but check out reviews though. There's some agencies out here that I'm like, dude, with those reviews, how are you still getting clients? There's some brutal ones out there. And I think we kind of, should look at that a little bit. We should look at reviews. It's not a joke. Look for case studies on their website like yours. What I want to know if I'm hiring a marketing agency is, how are you getting the result? Because the big promise, everyone can do a big promise. 17 more leads. Can you handle 17 more leads in this month? like, okay, that's the same pitch I've heard 20 times. And everyone knows how to say crazy ideas, like crazy numbers. But case studies kind of are different, because ideally a case study on their website, let's say they have a case study for other roofing companies, how did they achieve that result? And if I can follow the logical progression of what they did to achieve that result, that's going to allow me to understand how it's going to play out for me. And sometimes, and I'm not saying always, but sometimes like the companies with a little bit more pushback, they will actually push back on you in the sales process. They'll actually say, no, 100 leads isn't possible a day with that budget. We had a client, we had a customer, a company, a very legitimate company in our area that has 30 leads a day, which is not normal. I mean, it's kind of a lot. Basically coming before I had to drill down to figure out what they're currently getting, because they were saying 100. And I was like, okay, but let me talk to you about that number. Where are you at now? What's the most you've ever had? They're at 30. The most they've ever had was 50. I'm like, well, I don't think we're going to suddenly get you 100 with the same budget. It's just not a real thing. We need to inch it up from there. And anyways, the point is look for realistic promises that and a little bit more good questions, companies that ask you good questions that actually understand where you're currently at. Talk to current or previous clients. I think the questions to ask, like you were talking about not owning your website and kind of being not being in control. So that's the first question I have. I'm going to skip around on these a little bit. I don't want to just list off a bunch of questions, but that's a really big one. Do I own my website through you if we do this process? And it's not just shady little companies out here. There's a big one that serves a lot of roofing companies. And then there's another very corporate one that serves a lot of roofing companies. I'm not going to say names, but I'm saying there's a small one and there's a big one. There's a lot of different companies that do this thing where then you're basically renting your website for the rest of your life. And then if you have a situation where you're I don't want to pay for this anymore, they'll literally just take it off your domain. At least own your domain. And then second of all, ideally you own this website. Maybe you pay it off over a certain amount of time, but then when it's done, it's done. I don't want to be in a position where I'm paying the rest of my life for a website. Eric, I'm going to get into questions as people ask them, because I think this makes it more interesting. If you hire a marketing company, do you think they should do research for the market they're in? I would think a mandatory 7-day visit to that market and to town and take the temperature of customers, employees, and get a feel of what people are looking for and needs. See, I have the benefit of really knowing Eric. So I'm not going to take that personal. We do not visit for a week, but I do. I mean, that is very cool if an agency is willing to do that. I think that we struggle with this thing in roofing and contractors in general, where it's hard to charge for that type of thing. It's hard to that is a lot. And to be able to do that would probably be expensive, right? With somebody that you actually want to strategize for your marketing. I mean, I'm not saying paying any random marketer to come to your city would be that difficult. I don't know. I'm sure you could get somebody, but somebody that you actually want strategizing for your marketing to come for 7 days, it might be a little harder. I definitely understand the desire to want to do that. And for the folks that really want that understanding of the local market, I don't think everyone has to choose a super roofing niche marketing agency. The other side is hiring a marketing agency that's close by and that you can be in person. And that is what I started off as. We ranked number 1 for Minneapolis web design and Minneapolis SEO. So everyone that came to us, we were able to have these intimate conversations and understand their market. If that's something that you want, Eric, or would suggest, I would be suggesting almost that you choose a marketing agency that's nearby, because I think that then you're not paying that crazy premium for them to come travel to you. And I definitely understand that as a desire. Yeah, basically, I'm just going to note a few more key questions here. So, own my website through you. How will we judge success is a really good question. What's a realistic increase in leads? I think some good places for that would be 6, 12, 18 months. If you're doing paid advertising, maybe it's like 1, 2, 3 months, because paid is a little bit more. You can get leads really quickly. What can I do to mess this up? What can I do to speed this up? I think a good like philosophical question is, what do you consider a lead? And then I got a shout out to my boy Michael Stearns from Ascend Digital. He says a good question to ask is, what's more important, quality or quantity? I think that both of those last two are a little philosophical, but
still good questions.
Yeah,
still good question. So I've got a question for you that is pretty just. I mean, it's very broad and very general, but why SEO for you? Just like why SEO in comparison to, not that you don't do PPC and guaranteed and stuff like that, but like what specifically is it attracts you or Hook Agency to being so SEO focused rather than, I mean, you know, you've got print, you've got billboards, you got, you know, a variety of different things. You got obviously the social sphere, you've got Facebook, Instagram, you know, whatever. So I'm saying, like, what specifically is the reason for SEO?
Yeah, I kind of think about, there's a book I think called, there's something called The Beauty of Constraint or something like that. I think really this has been formed by constraint. I had no money. So I made my company with SEO because I had no money. You know, I didn't have a lot of investment. I overlapped from working at another company. I learned SEO. So the original thing is like, I learned it for myself to be able to market my company, and was able to get revenue for my company, which was originally a web design company. I was able to get a lot of revenue for this company, not a lot, some revenue for this company, and then slowly build it up. And without any other kind of marketing at all, I was able to build it up to $1 million in revenue from just SEO and my time. So originally it was because my time, I could use my time, and I could do it on the weekend, and I could do it at night, and I didn't have to have a budget. Why I am now selling it to people is because people asked for it and kept on asking for it, basically. So they're like, "What, you know, you're doing that for you. Can you do that for us?" And so I originally had like retainers on like design and how to get more leads from my website or from their website, like making tweaks and changes on websites. And basically, like at a certain point, I'm like, they're like, "I want more leads though." And I'm like, "Well, you can't graphic design your way into more leads. Like, it's really hard. It's a really hard way to get more leads. It's just, we're going to graphic design our way out of this box." And so, yeah, I basically just, clients kept on asking me, "It looks like you're doing that for you. Can you do that for me?" And then I just started to do that, letting them know that I'm early and I don't know that much, but I will try. And so my retainers were really low. It's very cheap. And then essentially, like, as I learned how to do it more and got a little bit more, like, I know when the result is going to happen. I know how long it's going to take. I know I can do it really well for these types of clients. I found that contractors was like a place where I actually knew that we could get results. Not to go nerdy for a second, but like in other niches in the market, in the markets, like, are like medical and financial and stuff like that, like, it's actually really hard to get SEO results because Google is a lot more stringent. It's like, it requires like this deep kind of expertise, and they're like looking for your website's like pedigree before they'll rank you for anything. So I've had like wealth management clients and dental clients, and there's certain niches that are a lot harder to rank, and contractors, because like, were one that I found I could move the needle a lot more. So like that's one thing that motivated me. And contractor, like, I did it, you know, I know you didn't ask this, but like contractors were just nice to me. And that was part of like the reason I just liked them. And then they weren't overly corporate, because I would get really bored of like the super corporate clients. And I like small businesses. So there's a lot of contractors that are small businesses, and they had the money to invest in this type of thing. So those are some of the reasons I chose.
That's good. That's well, the reason I asked that question, I think more holistically, was because, like, didn't know if there's anything specific to, obviously Hook is, you know, specializing in the SEO and PPC side, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you could be dangerous in some other capacities, but but just specifically, like, which is a great story. Nothing wrong with your story.
No.
That's awesome. But
No,
the
no.
reason I asked the question is more so leading toward like, is there a reason that you feel that SEO is better than another marketing channel, or are they all equally important to be diverse with? Because in TRA, we talk about having a diverse marketing channel, right?
Yeah.
Like casting a wide net, and sure, like, sure, it has to tie into the financial side of things, but 5-7 marketing channels, like, if you can get to a place where you're more omnipresent, obviously the better, you know what I mean? So like anything you have to expound on that, like, is it SEO for you because you feel like it's better in some respects, or is it lesser in others? Like, obviously it's more organic, right? I mean, we pay you a marketing agency, Hook Agency, to do that for us. We're paying money, so it in theory it is paid, but it's not paid traffic. You know what I mean? So so just give us a little bit more on that. Like,
those are really good points, and I want to say up front, I agree that you should have at least 5 solid lead gen strategies. You shouldn't be depending on just 1 or 2. And that goes for whether it's Google or it's door knocking. I believe that you should have multiple solid strategies. And I think 5 is a really good number to go for. I think some people spread themselves too thin and do too many poorly. Why it's better than Facebook ads, or why it's better than billboards, or I don't know that I believe that for sure. Like, I think it's kind of like one of the reasons that, we serve a lot of companies in that 3 million to 10 million range is because this is something that you can get a meaningful result at. I think billboards, sometimes you get more when you do more of them. So it's hard to do that really well when you're super early in that kind of growing stage. Yeah. Let me see. Why SEO? I mean, why? I don't know that I really think it's that much better. I think I always say job site is number 1, like job site management and cleanliness, and like using catch-alls and using yard signs and truck wraps. Like, I would say do that before you do this, like even, Google ads and SEO. Like, so I think that's honestly top, and like up there with it is referral systems, anything to do to increase referrals. I think that those are better than SEO. I think SEO and Google ad, I think SEO is like number 2 in my opinion, but I think that that's partly because it's a store of value. I like it because it's a store of value, because once you start to rank, it's true. It's hard. You can kind of lodge yourself up there. I know Randy's company Elite it's got some major powerful rankings, and it's kind of lodged up there. It's going to be hard to dislodge his company from the top of the rankings. And that's a store of value. That's like leads. Even if he didn't work on SEO for a while, it might go like this a little bit, but it's like going to generally be up there, and you're going to keep on getting leads for years after you stopped doing the work. That's a beautiful part.
That goes to like, solidify what I said earlier, and I was talking about our marketing team and how like 10 years ago, I was like, all right, in 5-10 years, I want to be at the top. And they've worked really hard to maintain that and to get that. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to put the time and energy in and the money to get there. So it can be done, but you got to understand you're playing the long game when it comes to that SEO. So casting a wider net, maybe it's radio, maybe it's direct mail, maybe it's, Facebook ads, YouTube, like video, it's door to door. Like, you should have a marketing matrix that includes all of those things, and just understand and track it all and understand where to double down and when to double down as necessary based on what's working. Cause that's always shifting as well.
Yeah. And I think like something us marketers, I like to talk about just to other marketers, and that I think is important, is like, there is a opportunity cost to every lead gen strategy. So like, I think Connor's kind of poking at this a little bit, is like, maybe I could make a couple $100,000 with SEO in the next year, or, whatever, and maybe 500 plus or something in 2 years or whatever. But then I know how to make 500 now. Like, I got a strategy that will do it now. And I think that that's something we always have to be thinking of. Like, and I think about with our clients is like, 200K is not enough. Like, we got to make more money than that. We got to go quicker, because there is an element of opportunity cost to every lead gen strategy. What I like about this too, like for our clients, and you asked, Connor, so I'm just going to say, like, is that we're pretty, generally once you get past the first couple of months, people are pretty hands off. They don't have to touch our stuff as much. It's like a monthly call, then it's done. Like there's different opinions on that, but like I like that what we can be doing doesn't require their constant attention. We figured out how to do this in a way, and kind of out of necessity, because like contractors are hard to get a hold of sometimes. Like we just can crank. We can just keep on doing the contents, the blogging and the landing pages and the changes to their website on a regular basis. I like that about what we're doing. Whether like a couple other things I think are really good, but that we don't do is like videos. Let's say videos for your Facebook and your social media. Like you should be doing that. Please do that. But we don't do it because I found it really hard to do in a quality way for as many contractors as I'd like to serve. And I liked it a lot to get out there. And I think you should do that with a local video person if you don't hire internally for it. I think it's a super high ROI thing if you get good at it. But it just it's a lot more it's a lot more close knit, and it's a lot more like if they don't have charisma, and that's okay. You don't have to, and if they don't want to diligently do this like 2 days a month or whatever, it's just it's hard to do well without their participation, their heavy participation. And so that's another reason we chose to do SEO. And I think that the value prop a little bit for them to not have to be so involved. It's like kind of nice to find heavy duty marketing systems that I can kind of like crank and then let be over here where I'm running my business. Somebody put it really well the other day in an email. It was, let me see if I can find it real quick. It is essentially, I don't have time for that type of stuff. Like I want to be running my business and I don't want to sit out here doing that. Like I've got other stuff to do. And that, yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, I think there's a balance of, hiring good marketing agency, they got to be able to tell your story. So you need to be involved to help onboard and get them going. And once they're going, then it's just maintenance, then it's just maintenance. And again, I think the takeaway as we start to wrap this thing today, the takeaway is like your marketing is an extension of your business. Your brand is an extension of your business, which all the above are an extension of the owner. And the owner, let's add another layer to that, and it's all about the why and the values and the purpose and why your company exists and the deep rooted reason that you start your business and that you care about your community, that you're trying to execute and do whatever it is you're trying to do to be a great company, to differentiate yourself. All those things tie together, and you got to take it seriously and put the energy in, find the right people, and inspect what you expect. But the more you can build on something and find great people and build systems and rinse and repeat, the easier it becomes for you to go run your business.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line between just running your business and trying to press the easy button and contributing to marketing and then being able to work your way into
I don't even know if I'm really signing off on it. I'm essentially just saying why somebody hires Hook sometimes is that I have no time or energy to manage it. That side of things. Like I think you should have an hour a month where you're doing this, but I'm just saying essentially like a new person. I'm just comparing this to like hiring a new person in your business. If you don't feel that good at it, it's tough to say you're going to be great at managing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a tough part. And I'm not saying that somebody can't do that, but either way, you're going to have one component that you're going to have to like either do an hour a month or an hour a week managing that person or whatever it happens to be.
And I think SEO is, to as Randy said, we're going to wrap here, but like, I think SEO, to make the last point that I have is, it's a little bit less involved than doing reels or, having, active, in engaging Facebook or Instagram type, PPC type content. I mean, that stuff's a little bit more of the, and I agree 1,000% with what Randy said. Like, you should have yourself interwoven, your values, your brand, everything into your marketing message, So But yeah, there's certainly the SEO piece. I would say.
Can I say one thing? Because I know that we're wrapping up, so I just want to I know that this has been talking about marketing and managing it and hiring versus internal versus external, but I want to say something about our services because I really believe in them. And so this part is a little bit more like why Hook. Like we in our onboarding process with clients, like a big piece to what we're trying to do, every single piece of content that we put out for clients, we have to have a emotional hook point and a challenger viewpoint, meaning we want the client to give us some ways that they're challenging the industry or like why they're different than other contractors. And we make sure every single piece of content that goes out for Hook for our clients has those things in it and has good formatting, including things like bullet points, headlines, emojis. Like we're modern with it. Okay. And also including images and videos and stuff like that. And that's very different than a lot of SEO companies because a lot of SEO companies are making content strictly for Google and we are making it partly for Google, but we know what Google wants. Its end game is to make content that really engages human beings. And so like they just had an algorithm update called the helpful content update. And so I was excited because I read Google's stuff. I read the quality evaluators guideline, 130-page booklet. I read all their stuff. I look at it and I analyze it. I say, this is where Google wants to go. And we're going to make this future proof. So when a Google update hits, I'm kind of excited a little bit because I'm like, I think we might get a little bump from this. Yeah. And that's the way I like to think about SEO.
That's good, man. Well, you kind of already hit the gold nugget. I was going to ask you for that at the end, but
okay, yeah, excuse me.
But so for everybody that was wondering, Tim went ahead and jumped the gun and gave us the gold nugget.
That's my gold
nugget. There's his gold nugget. So Randy, I'll kick it over to you with your gold nugget for the episode. We'll wrap.
This one's for the entrepreneurs, the business owners out there. As much as we want and hope and believe that there's an easy button, we're always looking for ways to just call somebody, hire somebody, make something happen to just move on to the next thing and to press that, proverbial easy button. There is no such thing as an easy button, guys. You got to put in the work. You got to show up every day and you got to inspect what you expect.
Woo! Love it. Bringing the heat.
Yes, sir.
Well, guys, it's been fun this episode 203, having Tim on. Tim, thanks for being here.
Doesn't have to do a golden nugget. Where's his golden nugget,
bro? My golden nugget would be hire Hook Agency to do your SEO.
Dang, baby, dang. Well, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, Tim. Yeah, so appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week on the Start Build Grow Show. Take care, everybody. See you next time.
Take it easy.